A lot of strategies which I'm going to cover today, but keep in mind that I may skip some, and some of it you can always get back to me and connect with me to know more about those strategies as well. My goal here is at least give you 3 to 4 things which you can actually follow in your life right now, which you can apply in your life right now. Okay. With that being said, let's get started. So before I get into all the strategies and the agenda for today, I have to set some context on why I came up with this stock, right? And that'll help to understand where I'm coming from and what a lot of people are going through right now as well. Let's start with the story. So what you see on the screen is the old Raj about 7, 8 years ago, actually. So I grew up in the southern part of India and from Chennai, and I grew up in a family of overachievers around me. And from a young age, I had this inferiority complex that I wasn't good enough, I was dumb, I didn't matter. That's because everyone around me were huge successes, especially when it comes to academics, and you know that feeling, right? And for me, I was average in everything. Average in sports, average in academics, average in dating, you name it, right? I was average. So I constantly tried to emulate other overachievers around me, to rise to their expectations. But every time I tried doing that, I ended up getting disappointed because I could never reach to people's expectations. So what that ended up giving me was I had fear of rejection, I had anxiety, I felt like an outcast, I had fear of public speaking, and that was pretty much the old Raj, right? And during my second year of my undergrad, I had this realization that for over 20 years, I was doing things for other people, and I didn't want to disappoint them, but in that process, I was disappointing myself. I was letting other people's opinions be my reality. So I made a vow to myself that when I entered the IT industry, I'm going to do whatever it takes to do things for myself and then establish credibility and make people recognize me. And since then, this was way back in 2007. Since then till now, I've tried so many different strategies which have transformed my life from a shy, introverted tester into an international keynote speaker, author, and tech career coach, right? And I've been a star performer in 6 out of my 7 companies. I've exponentially increased my salary by over 150%. So how the hell did the transition from this guy you see on the left to the person on the right actually happen, right? That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about certain strategies which I can quickly share with you that will help you make the transformation. You don't have to be born a superstar, but you can become a superstar. And that's what we're going to talk about. So this is going to be the agenda for today. First about me quickly. Saurabh already introduced me, so I don't want to get into details, but all information about me can be found on my website. It's rajsubra.com. I blog, I speak on a regular basis, and I write quite a bit for different publications. So I write on leadership, motivation, productivity, AI, software development, software testing. So you can go check out my website about me there, okay? Let's get into the agenda for today. First, I'm going to share one quick, powerful strategy to find what your dream career should be. And then we're going to talk about 1 or 2 strategies on cracking interviews, salary negotiations, and then how to be a rock star at work. So let's start with how to find your dream career. So this is the thing. Our life is like a GPS system. Say you're using Google Maps. You cannot not put the destination address on Google Maps and expect to reach the destination. And then you cannot complain that Google Maps is not working properly. And our careers are the exact same way. If you don't know where you're going, where you're heading, what your goals, what your vision is, there's no use putting the effort and then complaining that COVID is against us or careers are rigged and it's not working for us, right? So here is a quick strategy to find your dream career. And I've used this for the past 10 years and it's done wonders for me. And whatever positions I've been at before I became a tech career coach was a strategy and was planned and it was based on this exercise, which I actually did. So this is a quick exercise which anyone can do. So what you're going to do is literally take a paper and pen, okay? Put a horizontal line right through the middle of the paper. On the left side of the sheet, you're going to write down things you love to do. And on the right side of the sheet, you're going to write down things you hate to do. And do this for an hour in an uninterrupted manner, like session-based exploratory testing. And what's going to happen is all the things you want to do in life, from your career standpoint, from your personal standpoint, everything is logged in your mind. And putting all these things on paper and making it visible, you're going to start identifying patterns, just like in testing, right? So say, for example, in your things you're interested in, you write down things like this, where you say, I love creativity, I love programming, I hate being micromanaged, I hate processes. Then probably being a software developer at a startup company is something you want to focus on, right? And while doing this, if you figure out that you're in a large company and part of a multi, like 50 team, 50 team member group, then probably you're in the wrong job. So just by doing the mind dump exercise is going to give you a lot of clarity on where you want to go, what do you want to do in life, especially 2021 just coming up. This is a good exercise for you to start right now and then proceed with strategy. And this is an example of a mind map which I did. So for example, I love writing content, I love speaking, I love mentoring, I love programming. I hate doing admin tasks, right? And I hate website maintenance also, although I build my own websites because I'm a tech guy. And then I hate doing customer support. I hate doing marketing. So just by doing these things, you can find out a lot of patterns. And again, I have links at the end to download these templates. So don't worry about trying to take notes of everything. Next, let's talk about how do you crack interviews. So first, we talked about how to identify your dream career, and then you start applying for jobs, right? Or if you're already in a job, in the wrong job, then you can do something to get to the next level. Now you want to crack interviews. And interviews are twofold. One is if you're looking for a job, you have to attend interviews. Or if you're looking for promotion within your company, you still have interviews, right? And there's different strategies you can follow to ace any kind of interviews. And here, there are a lot of strategies. And again, I blog about some of these strategies. You can go check out my website, and I've given details about these strategies in my book as well. But for the purpose of time, I'm going to take two here and then explain it, right? So the first thing is the 90-day plan. And I've done this for the past 5 companies I worked for. And every time I did this, I've got a job, right? So what is that? So before you attend an interview, what you're going to do is do a mind map of what you can achieve in the first 90 days. They usually teach this in business school, but tech folks do not actually follow it. But if you follow it, you will stand out from the crowd. So what this 90-day plan is, again, a mind map, and you're going to write down different things you can achieve in the first 90 days. It could be in terms of learning, what are you going to learn, what are you going to research, how you're going to motivate people, how you're going to be creative. Just do a mind map. And when you come to the interview, you're going to say, hey, hi, good morning or good evening, whatever. And before they start the interview, you're going to give a printout of this 90-day plan saying, hey, before we get started, I just want to give you this. Then what people are going to do is, the interviewers, they're going to look at the 90-day plan, right? And no one does this, people. If you do it, you're already standing out from thousands of other people who are applying for the same kind of job. And once they look at this 90-day plan, Then they start asking questions and having discussions about it. And you can consume, say you have a 1 hour interview, you can consume 10 to 15 minutes about things you already know because they're talking about the 90-day plan, which you just did. See what you just did there? You made the interview about you and you've already consumed time about things you know. So the 90-day plan is something which is really important. And again, you can download the template later in the end. I'll show you the links. Another thing I want to talk about was the hook technique. And not a lot of people do this. And following this approach will help you stand out from the crowd. So let's just take an example for this, right? Say you go to an interview and they ask you, hey, tell me about a situation where you had a big problem and you successfully solved it. Say that's the question. There are two ways you can answer this. The first way is you can say, yeah, a couple of years ago, we had this huge customer issue and we had this banking application which kept crashing and our customers tried to upgrade it to the new version of the app and they were facing these problems. And the way I solved this problem was, then you say blah, 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 you explain how you solved the problem, right? That is one way of answering this question. But now see the other way to answer this question. So you're going to say the same thing, but then you're going to continue saying, yeah, that's why they used to call me the therapist in the team, because whenever there are difficult conversations that need to be had, my manager used to call me to fix the issue, and I was a good listener, and I let people vent, then try to solve the problem with empathy. So what you just did there was you used different hooks. You used the word therapist, then how you handle difficult conversations. Then you said you try to solve the problem with empathy. What's going to happen right now is the interviewer, the majority of the times, this is what is going to happen. The interviewer would say, they used to call you the therapist? That's interesting. And then what you're going to do is capitalize on that, saying, yeah, they used to call me the therapist because I used to be sent to different teams where people were arguing. And since I was a good listener, see, I put the hook. Since I was a good listener, I was able to learn from experience and solve people's problems. And then what you're going to do is you could also say, that's why I was rated as a star performer last year. Or you could say, that's why I had a performance bonus last year. See what I did there? Now I added the word performance bonus. And immediately the interviewer is going to ask, oh, you also got a performance bonus? You can keep using hooks when you answer questions. And the hooks should be the hooks you put to highlight your strong points. And this is how we can take control of interviews. It's called the hook technique. I go into a lot of details and examples as well in my book and on my website, so you can always go check it out. But this is something to keep in mind, okay? And it has done wonders for me and the people I've helped with. The next thing is salary negotiation, right? So there are a lot of strategies you can use for salary negotiation, but let's just take a step back. So research has found that less than 50% of the people negotiate their salaries. That is crazy. That's because you're giving away free money. So let me ask you this, will you just give $10,000 to a random stranger who's passing you? The right answer is no. And that's exactly what's happening when you don't negotiate your salary. Because this is the thing, the company has already decided to give you a certain amount of money, okay? And if you don't negotiate your salary, the extra $5,000 or $10,000, and again, I'm in the United States, so I talk dollars. You can convert that into rupees. But the point is, if you don't ask for that extra money, then they're going to use that money on someone else who actually asked for an increase in salary. So that is a problem. So we need to negotiate our salary, and salary negotiation is a win-win process where you're trying to have a discussion where you state some data and facts to show why you deserve that amount of money. And on the other end, the company is trying to see how they can match your needs, right? So it's not like one party has to lose for another person to win. That being said, let me talk about one strategy here. So the number one strategy you want to follow here is never give your actual salary, right? So in India, it's been a while since I worked in India. I used to work in India as well, by the way. but at least in the United States and in Europe, people cannot directly ask how much you're earning, okay? And if they ask you that, then what here in California, for example, it's illegal to ask that question. But if they still ask you that, then you could try to say that my salary range is usually from this amount to this amount, and you could just add 10% or 15% to what you're currently earning, because they are not going to ask all your pay slips and stuff, because that's not the point of salary negotiation, right? And especially when they ask you this question of what are your salary expectations, never give an exact number for your salary. You should always answer that in ranges. Say, for example, I'm a senior test engineer here, and if they ask you what salary you want, you should say I want somewhere between 130 to 160, and how you're going to 160,000. And how are you going to arrive at the number is you have websites like PayScale, Glassdoor, CNN Money, where you can research what the position pays, and then add 10 to 15% on the minimum amount you're going to get, and say that is going to be your range, right? And again, I know these salary ranges could be confusing, but just keep in mind that you never reveal your exact salary. You always have to answer in ranges, and that's how you can start negotiating, okay? So those were some points related to interviews and then salary negotiations, right? And again, if you have questions about the other points on the slide, I'm going to be here rest of the conference, and I'm active on LinkedIn, so just definitely connect with me. The last part is, okay, say you got a job. How do you be successful in it? How do you set yourself miles apart from the competition, right? So here are some strategies just to do that. You need to build your personal brand, then underselling and overperforming. Then there's some leadership traits you want to follow, and there's some things you want to think about when you tell a testing story, right? So let's first talk about building your personal brand. Your personal brand is the single most important thing, which is going to set you apart from the competition. Say that thousands of people applying for a particular job. Why would they choose you compared to other people, right? Think of it like your favorite body soap. So you've been buying that same body soap. I don't even remember what brands are there in India anymore. Like Lifebuoy probably is still there, I guess. But say you're buying the Lifebuoy body soap, and you've been using that for 10 years. The reason you're using that is not just because of the color, not just because of the fragrance, not just because of the packaging, not just because of the discounts. It's all these facets of that bad soap which makes you keep buying it. And our careers and our brand is the same way. There are multiple things which builds your credibility and builds your brand. And that's what is going to help you stand out from the crowd. So building a personal brand is really, really important. And the things you see over here are some ways to do it. We already talked about the mind dump exercise. Having goals task is really helpful. But one key thing I want to mention here is growing your network. If you're listening to me speak today, that means you are probably a person in the tech industry. And if so, you need to be active on LinkedIn. You need to have an updated LinkedIn profile, because LinkedIn is where you can grow your network. You can connect with a lot of other professionals, right? And attend meetup events, attend conferences. There are a lot of conferences which are free. What I usually do is before I go to a conference, I figure out who and all are talking at the conference and try to connect with them proactively. And that's how you start building your network. So these are some ways you can build your brand as well. Yeah, I know I have about 2-3 minutes left, so I'm going to be done. And then maybe I may take a couple of questions, okay? Next one is underselling and overperforming. So the number one problem with us testers, including me, is when they say, hey, can you finish this task within 2 days? You would say, yeah, yes, I can finish it in 2 days, without even thinking about how much time it's actually going to take. So what you need to do is, when they say, can you finish this task A, right? If they say, if you think it's going to take 2 days, what are you going to do is say that it's going to take 3 days, add the buffer to finish that particular task. Then what you are going to do is Finish the task A within 2 days, and for the rest of the day, the 1 day you have, do something to put your stamp on it. Do something creative. Do something extra to make your work stand out from the crowd. So that's why you always have to undersell, saying I can deliver A, B, and when you deliver it, when you do C, D, and E, that's when you establish trust. That's when you make people notice you. So underselling, overperforming is a really important concept as well. If you are in a leadership position, these are some things you want to keep in mind where checking the time here. So you need to have clarity in goals and objectives. Effective communication is something you need to have in your team. Empowering teams, trusting people and giving them responsibility, that is a key concept. And then effective feedback loops and increasing visibility of people's work. And that's what is going to really help. And as a leader, it's your job to do it. Finally, telling compelling testing stories. So look at this house. Within 3 seconds or 5 seconds, see what you can notice from this house. So the odds are, some people would have noticed immediately the color. Some people would have noticed the window. Some people would have noticed the car hiding next to the house. Some people would have noticed the clear sky. So if you ask this question to anyone, you're going to get different answers because people build different mental models of how they perceive things based on their experience, right? And we need to be aware of that when working with teams. That's why when telling stories, when giving information, different roles in your team need different kinds of information. For example, say you're telling an information about finding a defect, right? The developer here may be interested in how the defect affects the technical aspects of the system. A business person is more interested in how it impacts a customer. A project manager is more interested in how it's affecting the schedule. You see where I'm going with this? How the same defect you found, you have to convey different kinds of information based on the roles you work with. So recognize that people have different mental models, and based on the roles and responsibilities, you need to tell a compelling testing story. And that is really, really important for you to get to the next level. Here are some filtering systems on how to tell a compelling testing story. And this will help you to become a better communicator as well. So what's next, right? We need to remember that we all have 2 lives, and the second one starts when we realize we have only one. So if you want to make a change, the right time is right now. Don't delay it. And it doesn't matter whether you're average, because you label yourself as average. Everyone has strengths, and you can find out your strengths and work towards it. For more resources, you can go to this website, and in the free resources section, you're going to find a lot of free templates to use in your job as well. This is my new book, which is out. It's called Skyrocket Your Career. It's all about career advancement, and I'm giving away a free chapter on my website as well, so definitely go check it out. And finally, I have a private Facebook group where a lot of testers hang out, and we privately talk about a lot of problems we are going through and share resources as well. So if you're interested, definitely go check out my private Facebook group. It's called Skyrocket Your Career as well. That's pretty much what I had. I know it was like a rapid fire session for me because I had only 20 minutes, but hopefully you found something to think about based on the points which I just mentioned. If you have more questions, hit me up on LinkedIn, subscribe to my newsletter, and we can have a conversation. And of course, again, I'll be hanging out at the conference as well. So that's pretty much it. And I don't know whether we have time for questions, but going to look at the chat window right here. Maybe I can do it. If Saurabh is okay with it, I can maybe take a couple of questions. But if you are okay with it.
I mean, we do have a break. I mean, we can compromise some time out there. I mean, you can take a question up, or you can catch a table on a number of your choice, and we all can catch you there with the questions.
Okay, why don't we do a hybrid approach? I'll answer one question now, and then I'll hang out by the table.
Sure.
Hopefully. So One of the let me see the questions here. Oh, this is a great question. How do you showcase a 90-day plan virtually when the interview process has been changed to an online mode? Great question. So what you would do is, usually when you're attending an interview, they're going to tell you the names of the people you're going to interview with, right? And you'll have some email address, like the recruiter's email address or the point person. So you could send the mind map copy in a PDF format to the recruiter or the interviewer saying, hey, before our interview, I also want to share this because this is something I've been thinking about, which I can contribute if I join the company, right? That's one way to do it. Second way is during the interview process, you could start saying, hey, I just want to send this document to you. It is something I came up with to let you know how I can contribute positively to the growth of the company. Send them through the chat window, right? And if they're okay with going forward, explaining the 90-day plan, and then share your screen, and then you can start doing it. So that is a way you could do it as well.